Chase at the 40. Look at that move. Look at Chase go. Oh, my goodness. What a gear.
He comes down to this in his car end zone. Intercepted.
McPherson. And Cincinnati is heading to the Super Bowl.
Toss here. Nixon's going to throw. Open man. Caught. Higgins. Touchdown.
Touchdown. Joe Burrow has his first rushing touchdown of the season.
Hooday, Bengal fans. He is Maan. I am Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse, the heartbeat of our Cincinnati Bengals. Maan, I know you are excited about tonight's episode, the first annual Bengals Pulse mock draft. I'm excited. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not a big mock draft guy like you are, but I am excited about this episode. We're going to discuss real quick with the listeners how we are going to do tonight's show. I'm going to let you do that, Mom. Before we get into that, though, real quick, we do have a little bit of Bengal news. Your guy, Drew Sample, is coming back. He is going to come back and revive the tight end room on Drew Sample. The second-round pick has been signed this week to a one-year deal. Maan, Drew Sample coming back. What are you more excited about? Drew Sample coming back or tonight's show, the mock draft show? Which one are you more excited about?
Tonight's show. And did you say he was my guy? Is that what you said? Listen, he's not my guy.
He's your guy. That's your
draft
guy.
Draft night. Bengals Twitter was in meltdown mode when they picked him. I was just sticking up for him like, hey, let's give him a chance to play. I think Bengal Twitter was right. Hey, he's back. You know what? I hope he has a career year, and I'm always going to root for him. But I'm more excited about this show tonight than that.
I mean, he can block. He is a solid blocker. So he comes back, and again, he's a familiar face in the tight end room. I don't think this is going to change the Bengals draft. I know it's not going to change my mock draft tonight, whether or not we have Drew Sample on the roster. Some more news, Mom. The Bengals stadium, Paycor Stadium, is in the news right now. Let me just ask you, Mom, real quick, your thoughts. Do you like upgrading Paycor, or are you in for a new Bengals stadium? What do you think?
I'm all for upgrading Paycor Stadium. I just don't think that the city of Cincinnati and Hamilton County will stomach rebuilding or building a new stadium for the Bengals. Jake, you always make fun of my age, but I remember back in the 90s how contentious it got with the tax proposal to build Great American Ballpark and Paul Brown Stadium at the time. And there's still a lot of angry people over that. I just don't want the Bengals to have to go through that. It's going to be some big time negotiations. I think Paycor Stadium is still viable. I think they could spend money and upgrade it. They did that down here in Miami at the old Joe Robbie. They really jazzed up that field. I think they could do the same at Paycor. And I hope they get that done and the Bengals sign a 20, 30-year lease to stay in Cincinnati.
I mean, how awesome would that be? Mon, I just moved here. They can't go anywhere. I just moved here.
If they move to St. Louis, you got a coaching job in St. Louis.
I'll tell you. I think. I agree with you. I don't want to see a dome stadium in Cincinnati. I love that people have to come here and they have to play no matter what the conditions are. I'm a football guy. I'm an old school guy. So no dome. Let's upgrade Paycor and let's keep this baby here for a very, very long time. And again, we talk about the Joe Burrow effect. Honestly, Mon, this is going to have an effect on this stadium deal too. Again, the Bengals are up and coming. They are a Super Bowl contender, and they have a very fun roster. I really don't see this being an issue like you and I had to worry about in our younger days in the 90s, because I remember those days too. All right, last thing, Mon, the Bengals off-season workouts tomorrow. Kind of a big deal. I think, we got 2 weeks before the draft, off-season workouts tomorrow. Going to be interesting. I always like to see day one of off-season workouts. Being a head football coach myself, I always like to see who's going to show up. Who's going to show up? Are we going to have perfect attendance? What do you think, Mon?
I think we will. The last 2 years has been very well attended. You remember 2 years ago, the Super Bowl year, I think the Bengals had 100% attendance, which
Yes.
people think that's a common thing in the NFL. It isn't. And I think that was the first inkling that the Bengals locker room was special and Zach Taylor was building a special team. And I think last year, a handful of players did not come in. I think they were working out at their own gyms and their own,
Right.
wherever they lived.
Right.
But I expect 90 plus, high 90s, maybe 100% this year. They're a good team, good locker room, and players want to be around each other. And I'm glad that basically the workouts start tomorrow. We're going to see a lot of interviews on Bengals.com, and we get to see what these players have done the last couple months.
Always fun to see that. Always fun to see that, and to see. Let's see too where those banged up guys, how far they've progressed. Right. I think that's
Yeah.
another big piece of that is to see Cheeto and Lil Collins and pretty much the entire offensive line to see how healthy and where those guys are in their injury return. So yes, agreed. I'm very interested to see. And I'm wondering if there's going to be some contract talks involved this week as well. Going to be very interesting. So exciting week, exciting couple weeks coming up here in Bengaldom. But let's talk about tonight's show, Mon. I am so excited. I have on the Barry Larkin jersey. I am pumped about tonight's show. My baseball hero, Barry Larkin. I cannot wait for this mock draft show. It is our first show, so hopefully it goes well. Our first mock draft show, I should say. Hopefully it goes well. Listeners, we do want you guys involved as well. So get out pen and paper and draft with us. We want you a part of this. Draft with us. Let us know your picks in the comment section. We are going to draft 1 through 7 tonight with no trades. Mon, tell our listeners how tonight's mock draft show is going to go.
Okay, guys, listen, I have the Pro Football Focus simulator currently on my tablet. I'm going to do a 7-round mock draft, obviously with the Bengals. And when we get to pick 28, I'm going to go back 5 picks. I'm going to go back and have an overview of the 5 previous picks before the Bengals pick at 28. Then when I get back to the Bengals, I'm going to announce the 5 highest remaining players on Pro Football Focus's big board so we can consider. Now, me and Jake are going to make the picks. There might be some rounds we pick the same player. There might be some rounds we don't. If there's a position of need that one of us want, we'll go back and try to find the highest rated tight end, wide receiver, whatever we're thinking. You, as fans, we want you to follow along and please post on our comment section your draft picks, who you selected in this mock draft. So we're going to start here in a minute. Jake, any questions?
No questions for me. We don't have all the fancy bright lights and all the graphics. Mon and I are old school football guys. So we're going to do this mock draft old school style. Again, Bengal Pulse fans, listeners, please join in on this. Now this is, are you going to, because only one of us can be graded on our draft. You can only do one actual draft, right? So am I going to be graded or are you going to be graded?
I'm going to grade you.
Of course you are.
every pick, I'm going to, because, the program has to continue. I'll put your grade in or your pick in. It'll give a grade. Remember, I did mine a few weeks ago when that little mock draft I posted. So we'll do it for you. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select a player too, because and just going to have it flow. After we make that pick, we'll talk about that pick for a few minutes and our rationale behind it, then we'll go to the next round. So let's do
hopefully I get
this.
an A. Hopefully I get an A, Mon. I haven't gotten an A since 7th grade, 8th grade year. So hopefully I get an A tonight. I'm gonna be very excited if I do.
At least you
If
got an
so,
A. At least you got an
listen,
A.
if I do get an A tonight, I am going to let my mom and dad know, and maybe my dad will cut me a little check because I used to get like $5 for every A. So let's hope I get an A. Maybe I'll get $5 or $10 coming my way from Pops. All right, here we go. Here we go. Round one, we're picking 28th, right? Are we ready to start this thing?
Yes. We're going to start it right now. 1 minute time limit to make a pick.
Yeah, like minute and a half. We'll keep it within that.
We're going to start right now, and the Bengals are on the clock, and I have this set for rapid, and we're ready to go. I'm going to go back right now. The last 5 picks in the draft.
Okay.
At pick 23, the Bengals picked 28, guys. At pick 23, Deontay Banks, cornerback, Maryland, went to the Minnesota Vikings.
Okay.
Pick 24 belongs to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They picked Jordan Addison from Southern California, USC wide receiver. Michael Mayer, Cincinnati kid, went to the Giants at pick 25, tight end from Notre Dame. Bijan Robinson went to the Dallas Cowboys. He stays in Texas. Kalijah Cansey, defensive lineman from Pittsburgh, highly thought of, goes to the Buffalo Bills. Bengals are on the clock, Jake. Here it goes. The 5 top players.
I'll go. How about I go first?
Sure.
I'll go first round. You go first, second round, and we'll do it that way.
Absolutely. Okay. And we're going to discuss our first round pick in detail before we go to the next round, right?
All right, here we go.
Okay. The 5 highest players on Pro Football Focus's big board. Rank 15th on the big board. Dalton Kincaid, tight end, is still on the board.
Okay.
Anton Harrison, tackle from Oklahoma, is still on the board. He's ranked 24th on the PFF big board. Okay. Will McDonald, edge rusher, sort of a Von Bell type, ranked 25, is on the big board, and ranked 25 on the Pro Football Focus big board. And you have Emmanuel Forbes, cornerback from Mississippi State, and Felix and Dukwe Uzama from Kansas State, edge rushers, ranked 32 on the big board. Those are the 5 highest rated remaining players on Pro Football Focus's big board. Bengals pick 28.
Mon, I am running up. I am running up to the podium if I am the Cincinnati Bengals and this thing falls this way. And I am taking Dalton Kincaid, tight end from Utah. The Bengals have their starting tight end. They have a huge weapon for Joe Burrow. And I'm telling you right now, if this happens, Jake Owens is going to be backflipping. I am going to be so excited to get Dalton Kincaid. Him, Michael Mayer, or Bijan Robinson, if they are on the board, again, I'm running up. Dalton Kincaid is my number 1 guy on my board, and there is no doubt in my mind that I'm running up to the podium and I am taking Dalton Kincaid, tight end from Utah, the new tight end, starting tight end of the Cincinnati Bengals, Mom.
All right, so I selected Dalton Kincaid for you. He's the highest rated player. It's always best to go BPA. He's an amazing tight end. Listen, I'm not crazy on tight end like everybody else. I think tight end is the 4th option in this offense, but Kincaid is a tight end the Bengals have not had. He's like a big wide receiver. He's really going to take this offense to another level. He does have a back injury. I understand people are a little worried about that. He's not a great blocker. Jake, I agree with you going and for the Bengals to pick him, but I'm not picking him.
Okay.
I am going to go against my pragmatic thinking. I think Emmanuel Forbes is a great rising football player. He's not ranked 15 on the board. I get it. Okay. I think by the time the draft comes around, he's going to get closer to that. He is a little on the thin side. People are talking about his weight. He's up to about 170, 177 right now. Ball hawk, 6 career picks, INTs or pick sixes. This guy is going to be a needed player. He's a talented player, 4.3 40, Bengals are razor thin at the cornerback spot. If injuries occur in camp, it could be a roster flaw that we cannot get past. We need bodies back there, and this guy's a premier player at a premier position. I'm taking Forbes from Mississippi State.
All right, and I don't disagree with that pick, Mon. Again, I think we've talked about how thin this Bengals defensive backfield is, and I like Forbes. I think he's a guy that is very dynamic and could be very dynamic on the back end of this Bengals defense. And again, remember, we got Mike Hilton and Cheeto. Both of those guys are coming up on contracts. Eli Apple, no longer a Bengal. So I'm perfectly okay with you picking Emmanuel Forbes. However, as I said before, if Kincaid is there, the Bengals better take Kincaid. 6'4", 240, 250 pounds. You can spread him out. He is that dynamic tight end. He could be that this Bengals offense has not had since the early days of Tyler Eifert. I am absolutely loving my pick, Dalton Kincaid. All right, here we go. You ready?
Yes, let's do it. Okay.
Round 2. You're going to pick first.
I will pick first. Okay. Before the 5 picks before the Bengals pick at pick 16 in the second round, okay. Sam Laporta went 55 to the Lions, tight end. Trenton Simpson, linebacker, Clemson, went to the Jaguars.
Okay.
Steve Avila, who's somebody I was going to consider in round 2, went to the Giants, a guard from TCU. Darnell Washington, a very good tight end from Georgia, went to the Dallas Cowboys. Yep. And Antonio Johnson, Texas A&M safety, one of the better safeties in this draft. The Bengals are on the clock right now. I'm going to go the 6th highest players remaining on the board at this Bengals pick. Tanner McKee, quarterback, Stanford. We're not drafting a quarterback in the second round. Dayon Henley, linebacker, Washington State, the highest rated linebacker in the draft, one of the highest ones. Tui Peludu, who we talked about a few weeks ago, edge rusher from USC. He's a hybrid. He can play inside also. Tank Dell, wide receiver from Houston, really good player. Mm-hmm. And Luke Weipler, center from Ohio State, one of the highest rated centers in this draft. I am going to take Tui Peludu, who I picked in my mock draft a few weeks ago. Lou Anarumo flew out to USC's Pro Day. USC doesn't have a lot of elite defensive talent. He flew out to scout him. That tells you what the Bengals think of him already. Listen, he can play end. He can play inside. Hair's on fire all the time. High effort. Good athlete. This is a guy that could come in and rotate and make our defensive line better. And we have a lot of high-priced players on that defensive line. It's a sneaky need. We need to start replacing some of that talent and that high-priced talent in the next couple of years. We're going to need players like Tui Peludu to come in and start to learn their craft and give us quality snaps early on, and I think he will.
Well, I absolutely hate to agree with you. There's nothing I hate more than to agree with you. But I'm going to have to go with Tui Peludu too. I think, again, we've talked about on this show that the Bengals have got to try to find some interior pass rush. And right now, Tuli is right up there at the top of best player available. So not only are we getting great value in the second round, but we are hopefully fixing that interior pass rush. This guy is, again, he is a incredible pass rusher. I think they have him at the top of that pass rushing list as far as Tuli goes, and I think this kind of solidifies now this defensive line that is already very solid for the Cincinnati Bengals. Again, we did not see them go out and get in any kind of interior guy. Obviously, they went out and they got a the edge rusher in
Basham.
Basham. Thanks, Terrell Basham. We went out and got Terrell Basham. More of a just an edge rushing type guy. This guy, like you said, he's a little bit more dynamic. You can move him inside, you can move him outside. And although I like the Basham pickup, I think Tooley fits what the Bengals need. So I'm going to agree with you. I go Tooley as well with my second round pick.
All right. On to the third round, pick 92 for the Bengals. The previous picks before, offensive tackle Morris goes from Oklahoma, goes to the Vikings. DeMarvion Overshawn from Texas, linebacker, goes to the Jaguars. Kayshon Boutte, wide receiver from LSU, has a lot of talent, had a bad year last year, goes to the Giants. Brian Young, edge rusher from the Volunteers, Tennessee Volunteers, goes to the Dallas Cowboys. I apologize, Cowboy fans. Jalen Jones, cornerback from Texas A&M, goes to the Buffalo Bills. The Bengals are on the clock. Top 5 players on the board. Tank Dell, wide receiver, Houston. Garrett Williams, cornerback, Syracuse. Nick Herbig, edge rusher from Wisconsin. Trevius Hodges Tomlinson, cornerback, TCU. Michael Wilson, wide receiver, Stanford. I think I went a couple extra. Wide receiver, Stanford, Michael Wilson. That's the top remaining players at pick 92.
All right. Man, oh, man. Ooh, I got 2 guys there that I really like. Man, oh, man, this is a tough one. I'm a UCF grad, and I've watched a lot of Houston football. And I'm going to go with a very sneaky need for our Cincinnati Bengals. I love Tyler Boyd, and I hope Tyler Boyd is a Bengal for a very long time. But if he is not, I love Tank Dell. He is very dynamic. He is a prototypical slot receiver. Again, his size is a little bit of an issue. If I recall, he's about 5'9", 170, something like that. But he is very dynamic, Maan, and he is a guy that can not only maybe turn into that down the road replacement of Tyler Boyd, but a guy right now that can help us on special teams. Again, he gets a ball in his hands, Maan. He is extremely dynamic. So I am going to go a little bit of a reach here. I wanted to go DB here, but I just think that wide receiver is a sneaky need for the Cincinnati Bengals. So I'm going to go Tank Dell, wide receiver from Houston.
That's fair. Everything you said, I agree with. I think wide receiver is a very sneaky need. I have said this on past episodes. That Boyd injury in the AFC Championship game destroyed this team. If he was healthy, we would have won that game. We need some quality depth at wide receiver. Dell would bring that to us. I'm going to pick another wide receiver, though. Jake, by the way, he was a 44th highest ranked player on Pro Football Focus's big board. That's a great value pick that you picked there at 92. That's awesome. You're going to get an A+ on that. I'm going to pick Michael Wilson, wide receiver from Stanford. He's the 66th ranked player on Pro Football Focus. I like him. He's 6'2", 213. He's a little bigger. He's a plug-and-play kind of guy. He runs about a 4.5 40. He's not a super burner, but he's fast, sneaky fast. He's a tough catcher, big guy, and I think he would fit this offense tremendously. Played at Stanford, played with a good quarterback who was drafted in the second round. So he knows the pro system. He's going to come in, and the learning curve for him will not be that big. He's going to come in, he's plug-and-play, ready to roll. He'll give you quality snaps this year. Michael Wilson is my pick, wide receiver from Stanford.
I like it. I mean, I don't like it as much as Tank Dell, but I do. Again, like I said, I think wide receiver is a sneaky pick. And let me go back real quick and just finish this about Tank Dell. He runs a 4.4 40, right? So the guy's got he's got speed. He's got almost elite speed. This year, Maan, 109 catches, 1,400 yards, and 17 touchdowns this year. In the last 2 years, Maan, 29 touchdown receptions for Tank Dell. Again, as I said when I picked him, when you get the ball in this guy's hands, Maan, He is dynamic. Tank Dell, wide receiver, Houston, is my pick. All right, here we go. Round 4, Mon, and this is going to be you're picking first. Mon is picking first, round 4. All right, let's see what we got.
Picked 126, the Cleveland Browns pick. Juice Scruggs, center from Penn State. 127, Georgia safety Christopher Smith went to the Jaguars. The Giants picked Owen Papo, linebacker from Auburn. Caillou Blue Kelly, cornerback from Stanford, went to the Cowboys at 129. Dwayne McBride, running back. Wow. I liked him. Halfback from University of Alabama, Birmingham, went to the Buffalo Bills. Now the Bengals are on the clock at 131. Top 5 remaining players. Some good players here. Anthony Johnson Jr., safety from Iowa State. Chandler Savala, guard from NC State. Dorian Williams, linebacker from Tulane. Jake, I think you're familiar with him. Corey Trice, cornerback from Purdue. And Luke Schoonmaker, tight end from Michigan. I get this pick. I'm going to pick a guy that I've read a lot about. He's rising in the draft. His RAS was through the roof. Chandler Saval, guard from North Carolina State. He's 6'5", 325. I understand he's listed as a guard. He's super athletic. I think he's somebody that could kick out the right tackle. His, he didn't start early in his career, but he started last year. He only gave up, I think, 5 pressures out of 400 snaps. Big guy, super, super athletic. Like I mentioned, his RAS was through the roof. I think he can eventually be a right tackle for the Cincinnati Bengals, ranked number 70 on the big board, and the Bengals get him at 131. I think it's a good value pick. Chandler Savala is my pick.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go out and I'm going to get my DB. And, again, I have said this recently on our show that safety right now is very thin. It's very thin. And again, I'm not downplaying what we have. I just don't see a lot of depth. Again, I hope guys like Tyson Anderson end up developing in Dax Hill. But I just feel like the Bengals have got to go out and they've got to get some depth at safety. So my pick is going to be Anthony Johnson Jr. from Iowa State. Again, I'm looking at not only best player available, he is there. He is one of the top guys still left. But we're trying to go find some depth at safety. And right now, with us losing Jesse Bates and Von Bell, I like our first 2 guys up to bat, but man, we got to have a guy on deck. And hopefully Anthony Johnson Jr. ends up being that guy. He runs a 4.5 40, so he fits that speed that the Bengals like on the back end of that defense. And again, I think this is a sneaky need. This is a thin draft at safety, and he's still sitting there in the 4th round. So I'm going to run up to the podium, and I'm going to go get him. Solid tackler. He is a guy that has played a lot of football, and that's my pick. My pick is Anthony Johnson Jr., safety from Iowa State.
Very good. Very good. All right. I marked that down for you. And now we're on to the 5th round. The 5th round. The 5 Bengals pick 163. At pick 158, Jackaroni Bennett, cornerback from Maryland, went to the Minnesota Vikings. Sean Tucker, halfback, running back from Syracuse, good player, went to the Detroit Lions. Deuce Vaughn, very small, 5'5" running back from Kansas State, went to the Giants. McClendon Curtis, tackle from Tennessee Chattanooga, who I think the Bengals brought in for a workout, went to the Houston Texans. And Raheem Jarrett, wide receiver from Maryland, went to the Colts. It seemed like Maryland has like 15 guys drafted already. It's unbelievable. But the wide receiver from Maryland goes to the Colts. Bengals are on the clock now. Jake, this is your pick.
Okay.
The top 5 players on this board right now at 163. Okay, Luke Schoonmaker, tight end, Michigan, ranked number 96 on the big board.
Okay.
Ronnie Hickman, safety, Ohio State, ranked 104 on the big board.
Okay.
Vilamani Fuhoko, an edge rusher from San Jose State, ranked 121 on the big board. Jose Ramirez, edge rusher from Eastern Michigan, ranked 134. Starling Thomas, cornerback UAB, ranked 137.
Okay. Real quick, tell me where we are right now, offensive tackle wise. Where are we at offensive tackle and running back? Tell me running back too. Offensive tackle and running back. Who do we have still sitting there?
All right. Keaton Mitchell, ranked 144 on the big board. Running back from East Carolina. Tackle from Clemson, Jordan McFadden, 161 on the big board.
Okay.
Braden Daniels, tackle, Utah, 188 on the big board. Evan Hull, running back, Northwestern, ranked 198 on the big board. There's one more. There's Ryan Hayes, ranked 209 on the big board, tackle, Michigan.
Well, I'm going to be honest. I don't know. I don't know anything about the tackles on the board. I do know a little bit about the running backs, but again, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I am going to select the top tackle that is still on the board. So give me the top tackle, offensive tackle that is still on the board right now, Maan. Who is it again?
It's going to be Jordan McFadden from Clemson. You want him, correct?
That's
He's ranked
who I
161.
want.
Okay, Jordan McFadden is your pick.
Yep.
There you go. Okay, perfect. Okay. I am picking Luke Schoonmaker, tight end. I haven't picked the tight end yet. I do like him. He's pretty big guy. He's 6'5", 251, 35 catches last year for 418 yards. I think he ran a 4.6 40. He's still, for the Bengals to get another top 100 player on the big board in the 5th round, I'll take that any day. I think that's a good value. Let's face it, he's going to make the team. The tight end room isn't exactly loaded right now. At least I didn't pick Kincaid like you did. But he'll come in and produce. He's going to learn. I think he's a decent blocker. He's going to be a traditional tight end that the Bengals normally get, and I think he can develop into hopefully a productive pro. But Schoonmaker is my pick in the 5th round.
Okay. Well, and real quick, just a little bit about Jordan McFadden, 6'3", 300. Again, doesn't have that height to him, but athletic guy. Ran a 4.9 40, so he can move a little bit. Again, right now we're 5th, 6th, 7th round. We're just throwing darts at a dartboard, trying to get some depth that can stick on this Bengals roster. I will say, just now looking at him, he is a solid pass blocker. So again, Jordan McFadden, I don't know a ton about him, but I like the pick. Now that I've seen that he is a solid pass blocker, I will take it because that is what we need, some depth at offensive tackle.
That's fair. Good deal.
All right.
All right. We are on to the 6th round right now, correct?
Yep. 6th round.
Okay.
And
pick number 206. All right. Yeah, sure. Like pick 201 real quick. Jared Clark, defensive lineman, Coastal Carolina, went to the Texans. The went to the Giants. Rashad Torrance went to the Raiders, and Starling Thomas, went cornerback from UAB, went to the Bills. Okay, the top 5 remaining players are Yasher Abdullah, pick number 1. He's ranked 138 on the big board.
Okay.
He's still available. Edge rusher from Louisville.
Okay.
Marty Mapu, safety from Sacramento State. Johan Tavai, defensive lineman from San Diego State.
Okay.
Bryce Ford Wheaton, wide receiver from West Virginia. He's ranked 157 on the big board. And Quindell Johnson, safety from Memphis, is ranked 162. Is it my pick or yours?
It is your pick.
Okay, there's two guys I really like here. I like the Abdullah guy. He's a smaller guy. He's very fast, 4.40. He's only 6'1", like 240, but he'd give offensive linemen fits. He's hard to block. I'm going to go with Bryce Ford Wheaton, wide receiver from West Virginia. I'm a big West Virginia fan. He was one of their best wide receivers. He's 6'4", 220, runs a 4.3 40. He's going to remind people of Chris Henry a lot, not just because they played at the same college. Elite athlete. He tested through the roof. You would think he would be more of a household name, but West Virginia wasn't exactly a powerhouse the last few years. They had multiple quarterbacks coming in and out. So I'm going to pick Bryce Ford Wheaton. I think he's going to come in and he's going to make that wide receiver room even better. You're not going to see that big drop off after the big three. He's potentially could develop into a very, very good NFL player. Bryce Ford Wheaton is my pick.
Well, and you know what? And I'm going to go with you on that. I'm going to also pick Bryce Ford Wheaton. And again, right now, like I said, we're in the 6th round. I'm just trying to get something to stick. Let's not forget Hushmanzada goes in the 7th round for the Bengals and ends up being one of the best receivers of the decade. So I'm gonna go with your guy Bryce Ford Wheaton. Again, like you said, 6'4", 221, runs a 4.38 40, very athletic, very long. Again, I know what you mean. He's a West Virginia guy like Chris Henry, and if he ends up being 3/4 of what Chris Henry was, then man, oh man, this is a home run steal. The guy had 700 yards and 7 touchdowns this past year. Over 60 receptions. So productive as well, and a West Virginia team that struggled a lot at times. So I'm going to go with you. I'm going to take Bryce Ford Wheaton. I'm not big on taking 2 wide receivers, but Tank Dell and Bryce Ford Wheaton, both athletic, very dynamic guys, both different, right? On totally ends of the spectrum. But I like Bryce Ford Wheaton. And like you said, that AFC Championship game, losing Tyler Boyd, was so detrimental to this football team, and we have got to find a guy that can come in when one of those 3 goes down, and we don't have that huge of a drop off like we did in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, Jake. Another thing about our wide receivers, all 3 of our studs, we have the 3 best receivers in the NFL. They all miss games.
Yes.
Chase missed 4 in a row. Higgins missed 2. Boyd missed games. Our offense, we're pass heavy. We're not as balanced as we should. And our wide receivers are touching the ball a lot. That's a lot of wear and tear. We have to have a stacked room at wide receiver. And drafting 2 in this draft lets that happen.
Yes, agreed.
All right, now the 7th round, correct?
7th round.
All right, the last 5 picks before the Bengals are, let's see here. Safety from Virginia Tech, Sharmani Connor went to the Steelers. DeMarco Helms from Alabama, safety, went to the Packers. Clayton Tune, quarterback from Houston, went to the Giants. I like him. Cam Jones, linebacker, Indiana, goes to the Dallas Cowboys. And Muhammad Ibrahim, who I liked a lot, from Minnesota, went to the Buffalo Bills. Okay, the 5 remaining players, highest rated players at 246 are Yashir Abdullah, ranked 138, defensive end from Louisville. Giovanni Tavai, defensive lineman from San Diego State, ranked 155. Quindell Johnson, safety from Memphis, ranked 162. Jacoby Slade, defensive lineman from Michigan, and Troy Brown, linebacker from Mississippi. Who goes?
Oh man.
Is that you or me?
It's me. I wish it was you. Let's see here. Who do we have left at corner? What's a top-ranked corner?
Let's see here. Okay, we are at pick 246. Okay, there's some value here. Taiwan Mullen, cornerback, Indiana's ranked 206. Cameron Brown, cornerback from Ohio State, 224.
Okay.
Christian Braswell, cornerback, Rutgers, 257.
Okay.
So you're getting out of the value range there. The first two are well
Yeah.
above 246.
Yeah. Go back and tell me those first two guys again.
Taiwan Mullen, cornerback, Indiana. Cameron
Okay.
Brown, cornerback, Ohio State.
All right. I am going to go Taiwan Mullen, cornerback from Indiana. Again, this is just a value pick. I haven't got a corner yet in this draft, and when you took Emmanuel Forbes, I said this this cornerback room from the Bengals right now a little bit thin. And Taiwan Mullen, I will say this: he's 5'10", 181, but the guy is fast. 4.42, right around borderline 4.3 guy. And we know the Bengals love that speed and athleticism in the back end of that defense. So I'm going to go Taiwan Mullen. I just, this is one of those things where I'm throwing a dart at a dart board and trying to get somebody to stick. I will say this: he is a very, very good tackler. So, a guy that can come up, and Louis Anarumo, he loves those DBs that can tackle. So Taiwan Mullen, corner from Indiana, is my pick in the 7th round.
Gotcha. Okay, my final pick is going to be Yasir Abdullah. He was ranked 138 on the big board. This is really a value pick. 6'1", 240, 4.47 40-yard dash. He's a very small defensive end, but he's from Louisville, and another short running defensive end from Louisville, Elvis Dummerville. They both went to the same college. They were both on the shorter side. Dummerville had a very good NFL career. If Yashir Abdullah could have half that career, that'd be one hell of a draft pick. I'm going to pick him in the 7th round. That's great value. And that's my 7th round. That's my mock draft for the Cincinnati Bengals. Jake, Pro Football Focus has calculated your mock draft because I entered your picks. Okay.
Okay.
You ready?
Come on, give me an A. Please give me an
Dalton
A.
Kincaid got an A+.
All right.
Tui Peludu got an A.
Okay.
Tank Dell got an A.
Okay.
Anthony Johnson Jr. got an A+.
Let's go.
Jordan McFadden, your worst pick. You got a C.
Okay.
Bryce Ford Wheaton, A+.
Let's go.
Taiwan Mullen, A-. You got an A overall. Good job.
An A, yes.
Good job.
First time since 7th grade. Maan, I'm going to make sure that my dad watches this episode just so I can get that A 8 payout from Pop. So wow. Again, and let me go back with the Jordan McFadden pick. I maybe a little bit of a reach there, but let me see it. It's a little blurry. There it is. Oh yeah, that's beautiful. A+, 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 A-.
How about those graphics? How about the graphics right there on Bengals Pulse? How about that?
I love it. Those are the best graphics I've seen on any podcast. That's just classic.
We suck, man. It kills me. That's so funny.
That's awesome. Dude, that's the best graphic. Are you kidding me? Nobody could beat those graphics. Let me say real quick about McFadden. Again, I know a little bit of a reach, but again, in the 5th, 6th, 7th round, like I said, man, you're just trying to find guys that can stick. And right now, the Bengals have got to find some depth on the offensive line, especially at tackle. If this is a guy that's played tackle, he's played for Clemson. He's played in a big program against good football teams. And, again, how our Bengals love guys that play in big winning programs. So, I know I got a C for the McFadden pick, but I'm good with it. Because, again, I think that, if La'el Collins is healthy, we're in good shape. Jonah coming off the bench because I think right now, with this draft at least, Jonah Williams is going to be a Cincinnati Bengal if it's up to me.
Let me ask you a quick question.
Okay.
I like your draft. Good grades. When the draft ends, you know that these undrafted college free agents start getting bombarded with phone calls. Look at your draft. Okay.
Okay.
Is there a position you wish that you would have addressed? It just didn't work out that way. Who are you going to address? Who are you going to call? What position do you wish that you think that you weren't able to address in the draft that you want to address now?
This is easy for me, Mon. First of all, let me just ask this, because there's a guy who I absolutely love. I love him, and before I say his name, because if he's still there right now, if he was not drafted, I am calling him first. He is my first phone call. That is Max Duggan, quarterback from TCU. Is he still there, Mon?
I shut down the program, but last I looked,
he
was 330 on their big board.
Okay.
I don't think he gets drafted.
Okay. If he does not get drafted, Mon, I will call Max Duggan first, because let me tell you right now, I played the quarterback position. I coach it. This guy is a leader. He is a competitor. And the Bengals have got to find a solid backup for Joe Burrow. They just have to. I'm not sure Mr. Allen is the guy. You and I both love Jake the Snake. He could not beat out Allen last year. Man, oh man, if Max Duggan's there, I saw that guy carry TCU to one of their best seasons of all time. There was one game, I can't remember what game it was. Listeners, if you can remind me, but this guy, Mon, was bloodied, beaten, and I mean, he had to be carried off the field, and the guy is just—
It was the Big 12. It was the Big 12 championship game against Kansas State.
That's right. It was the Big 12 championship against Kansas State. You're right. Again, you just want those guys. You want those competitors. You want those leaders, especially at the quarterback position. And we need a good, solid backup. So I'm calling Max Duggan right now and saying, Max, come back up, the best quarterback in the NFL. Come learn from the absolute best quarterback in the NFL, Max. And get your ring. Get your ring, Max. Get your ring, because we're getting one this year.
If we sign Max Duggan, I hope he's the best clipboard holder in the NFL and he never has to take a snap. I love his toughness. I don't know if it's going to translate in the pros, but I love his toughness. One for me, I really regret.
Wait, I'm not done. Wait, Mon.
I thought you were. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that's who I would call first. But position-wise, I'm with you. Running back is a position that I wanted to draft. It didn't fall that way. So since yours is running back as well, because that's what you just said, I think you and I are both on the same page here. The Bengals have got to go out and make a phone call to a couple of those running backs that drop out of the draft. Do you have a list of the guys that were not drafted or no?
I do not. I mean, obviously that's all fluid. I don't. Duggan was in the 300s. I don't think he's. There's a big possibility he'll be an undrafted free agent. But you're right. They're gonna anybody running back that slips, they're gonna go after. But they're gonna readdress it maybe with a veteran, maybe the Zeke Elliott kind of thing. I didn't address running back. I'm happy with my draft picks. Running back is needed. We still don't know what's going to happen with Joe Mixon. I hope they can work something out. I still have some hope Chris Evans can come back in, because Chris Evans is a very talented NFL player. Very talented. I don't know why he's in the doghouse. Let's get out of that doghouse, because he's a guy that could contribute to this team. Offensive tackle. If you're an undrafted free agent, you got potential. Sign of Cincinnati, because you have a good chance of sticking on this team. Chandler Saval. He's a guard. 6'5". He's a tall guy, 325. He's athletic. I think he can develop. I think they're going to kick him out the right tackle if they draft him. He's rising up draft boards. I did pick him, envisioning potentially being a tackle. One defensive lineman. I only picked one. I'd love Tui Peludu, but we don't know how that's going to shake down, Jake, with all those high-priced contracts on that defensive line. Everybody that starts makes over $10 million. We have to admit something. 65% of this payroll is going to shift to the offense with Burrow, Chase, Higgins. That's going to take a big chunk of our contract. Our offensive studs are going to take up a lot of that contract space. So our defense is going to be young over the next few years, and I'm glad that we start. My first 2 picks is Forbes and Tui Peludu. Our defense is going to be young. We need high-priced premium picks for that. I'm happy with that. We did get a tight end in the 5th round. I think he's going to develop into be a decent player. I think Bryce Ford Wheaton is going to surprise Bengal fans. I think they're going to be very happy with him. I'm happy with this draft. I'm happy with it. Let's do it again next week.
Let's do it again next week. And maybe next week we'll throw in a wrinkle, maybe a trade.
Why not? Let's do it.
Why not?
We control the show. We can do whatever we want. And I got graphics. And
you got, that's what I was going to say. Let's use some of that technical skill of Maan and use some of those graphics for next week.
I'll use my phone and I'll say, look.
All right. Hey, listeners, again, hopefully you guys drafted with us. If you did, put your drafts in the comments. Let us know who you picked 1 through 7, and let us know how you think Maan and I did. Obviously, the A right here did better, but tell us what you think. Tell us what you think in the comment section. As always, guys, thank you so much for listening. As always, if you love this podcast, please give us that 5-star review. Like it, share it, subscribe to it. Again, check us out on all the awesome podcast platforms: Apple, Stitcher, Spotify. As always, follow us on Twitter at Bengals_Pulse9, on Instagram, the same without the at, Bengals_Pulse9. And as always, check out all the awesome podcasts right here on the Wincinnati Podcast Network. Maan, this was a great first mock draft show. What do you think?
I love it, man. The graphics did it. I mean, honestly, probably the best show.
Let us know, guys, what you think about the graphics. He is Maan. I am Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse. Hoo-day, Bengal fans. We will see you next week.
See you guys.